Everyone really loves each other and just looks forward to hanging out. And so we try to facilitate that as much we can. We have a team building event, which is always fun. And yeah, just lovely dinners and extracurricular things going on.
Welcome to Verify Infield, the Millwork podcast. Here's Jacob.
Welcome back, everybody, to Verify Infield. Today, I am excited to have Adria Salvatore on with us for a second time. She is Education Director at Architectural Woodwork Institute, and we've been working together very closely on a lot of exciting projects, and she's doing amazing things at AWI, so I'm glad to have her on and share with you guys all the stuff that's going on in the AWI world. Thanks, Adria.
Thanks for having me, Jacob. Nice to be back. Good to see everyone.
I think it gets started. One, if you're listening and you haven't listened to Adria's last interview, we'll link that in the show notes, or probably have a little link here on YouTube for you to go back and listen to her past interview. But if you wouldn't mind, maybe just for those that have never listened to that episode, give a brief introduction of yourself, your role at AWI, and how you got to where you're at in the millwork industry.
For sure. I often say that I'm an imposter because I've been around the millwork industry for quite a while now, but I still know very, very little about woodworking. It's kind of shameful at this point. But I got thrown into the woodworking industry more broadly in 2007. That's when I started at AWFS, which is the trade show in Las Vegas. And I spent about 15 years there and had a wonderful experience and career there. And then 2 years ago, I came over to AWI, and my role now is Education Director. So,
awesome.
Yeah, it's been a great journey.
And so for those that aren't familiar with AWI, can you talk about some of the things that you work on and all the education initiatives that AWI has? Because I know a lot of people know of AWI as the standards, right? The AWI standards that most millwork manufacturers are familiar with and a lot of us follow. But education, that's a whole other set of initiatives that AWI works on.
For sure. Yeah, it's true. I think most people do associate standards first and foremost, and QCP, our quality compliance program and stuff, but we do a ton with education. We're super, super proud of it. It's a big part of our mission and our purpose and our strategic planning. It's always like education is very high up there. And so these days that kind of lives out through our events. So my role includes overseeing our events for our member companies and for the industry. This includes our annual convention, which is coming up in October, and that's our big event. In the spring, we also have spring leadership, which is very similar to convention. We have general sessions and educational content for our attendees. Throughout the year, we also have education outreach seminars, which are more in-depth and topic-specific on topics like project management, financial management, estimating, and contracts. And then we have boot camp, which is super unique. There's really nothing like it. And that is a week-long, very intensive woodworking boot camp is the best way to put it. It's long days of learning everything you can about woodworking. It's a really cool program. So a lot of my job is just overseeing those events and making sure everything's running smoothly and all the things get to where they need to go and people and all that good stuff. And then beyond that, education outreach, working with schools and students and teachers is a really big thing that we work on. And then our other projects, which I think we'll talk more about, are industry solutions, which is our online learning platform. We have a high school curriculum that recently came out, scholarships and grants that we give away, and Skills USA involvement.
Wow, that's a lot. And I'm sure a lot that most people probably aren't familiar with or didn't realize you guys were working on. First, to start with, let's talk about the physical events that you have, which National is next up, coming up in October. And actually, the episode previous to this, I had Scott Waldron on, who's going to be one of the keynote speakers there. If you're listening to this and you're going to be at a convention or you're thinking about it and you have time to still go, you should definitely come check it out. If not, definitely come in the spring and April. So you guys put on 2 primary events per year, 2 conventions. Yep. So you've got National and then Spring Leadership. Can you tell us a little bit more just about those 2 events and the difference between the 2, or what people could expect that maybe haven't been to those?
For sure. Yeah. I'm super excited that you had Scott on, and thank you for introducing us to Scott. I'm on our family gathering a couple weeks ago, and it was a really great conversation. It's going to be fantastic. So our annual convention always falls in the fall. The location changes every year. We're usually at a resort type venue, and we encourage our members to bring their family, their spouses. So it's a family oriented event. This year will be in San Antonio Hill Country. It's in October 19th through the 21st. Registration as of today is still open. And so please join us. We'd love to have you. And so it's like a 2.5 day event. There's 2 days of educational programming. It's full days of keynote speakers on leadership topics. Scott's going to be talking about vision and change and how to get your team on board with change and adapting and adjusting to change and how that relates to your vision. We also have an economist from ITR who will come and give us an update. Taylor St. Germain, he's new to us this year. We'll have Dominic Rubino. I'm sure a lot of folks know him. He's a great industry insider. And we'll have Allison Van Hooser, who's going to talk about workforce development and basically how to foster growth within your workforce and encourage those folks, like learning more about their stories and how to communicate with them more effectively to help them grow and advance within your company. So the retention aspect, I would say, of workforce development.
Awesome.
So in addition to the sessions, we have great meals. Obviously, the alcohol is there, which is a lot of fun, and just networking. All that kind of leads into great networking opportunities. So a lot of people really value as much as the education, just getting to see their friends and colleagues. It's like a reunion. It's really cool to see the culture and environment at AWI events. Everyone really loves each other and just looks forward to hanging out. And so we try to facilitate that as much as we can. We have a team building event, which is always fun. And yeah, just lovely dinners and extracurricular things going on.
Awesome.
So that's fall.
Yes.
Let me know if I should.
Yeah, no, and it, like you said, it is a lot of networking. There's also, you didn't mention this, but there are a lot of suppliers there as well. So there is some supplier, what do you call it, where we have tables and people can go in between sessions and meet with the software vendors, hardware companies, the materials companies. We'll be there with the table as well. And then, every breakfast, lunch, dinner, evenings, there's lots of networking. And also, I believe Nationals when you guys introduce the chair for the following year, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So we have our formal dinner where the gavel is passed. So we'll introduce our new chair and thank our outgoing chair. You're absolutely right. That's a big omission. I forgot the product fair. So we're super excited and happy to have all of our sponsors and partners there. And so like our receptions are within that product fair area. So you get to mingle with the folks who have tables and interact in that way. Yeah.
And then spring leadership is a little bit more laid back, a little bit smaller. It's more leadership focused and a lot of more emerging leaders. I know you guys have been pushing for emerging leaders and the younger next generation come and attend that. And that happens usually in April, roughly, right?
Yep, exactly. So this upcoming April, the 12th through the 14th, will be in Las Vegas. So that's really exciting in itself. We haven't gone to Vegas in a really long time. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We have some really cool new things that we're cooking up. We'll probably be announcing at and around convention. So in October, stay tuned for news on that. But yeah, you're right. The audience, we really encourage emerging leaders. So those emerging leaders are folks that are on your team that you want to kind of foster or mentor or bring up in leadership. And so we offer a half price registration rate for those folks. And then we have a student program. So we encourage students in college woodworking or related programs to come to the event. A lot of times we have Pittsburgh State students and their instructors at Spring Leadership. The format is very similar to convention. We don't have a product fair, and certainly not to the size that we do at convention. We're talking about incorporating that, so stay tuned. But at this point, it's really more focused on the networking opportunities and then the educational programming.
Awesome. Yeah. So those are the recurring events you do in person every year. You also mentioned you have seminars, which I think is the next event you have in Chicago. And those happen a couple times a year, I think, throughout the country in different places where you have education outreach specifically about estimating, finance, contracts, project management, I believe, are the four main pillars. Yep.
You're hired, Jacob. That's it. Yeah. Those are like 2 to 3 day programs. So education outreach in the past, that's a program that we've had going for many years. And previously our chapters would lead those and each seminar would be offered standalone. And so last year we decided to bring them all together. And again, because we see the value in networking. And so the idea was we could have all 4 seminars taking place at the same time. You could bring different members of your team specific to those departments. And then it just kind of fosters more conversations, communication, connections, and Yeah, it's been really cool. We've seen quite a few companies bring multiple team members. We have a special discount if you do that. And so then they get a little bit of bonding and team building out of that as well. And then they're meeting with their counterparts at other companies. So it's really cool. So yeah, you nailed it. Those are the 4 topics that we cover: contracts, financial management, project management, and estimating. They're really fun. All the sessions are even contracts, which I know everyone's like, yikes, but it's a really good session. It's 8 hours of classroom time. And then the other 3 topics are 12 hours of classroom time. We break that up into 4-hour segments. So you're not sitting in a classroom for more than 4 hours a day, which I know is really helpful because it can get long and stuff. But they're interactive seminars. They all have workbooks and that sort of thing. And you're doing activities, and there's a game element even to the project management one. So the teams are really good. And yeah, people walk away with a good understanding and also making new friends and connections. A really important aspect to the education outreach is we always offer a tour as well. So, for example, this one will be in Chicago next week, and we'll be touring Bernhard Woodwork. So we really thank Mark Bernhard and his team for allowing us to come, as well as Sproveri's Custom Counters. So thank you to Liz and her team. So yeah, it's just enhancing the educational experience. It's always great to get out and see facilities when we can. And so we're really thankful to those companies for letting us do that.
Amazing. But one more thing I wanted to ask you about, you touched on this briefly, is Industry Solutions, AWI is, and I think officially launched right at a year ago at National, I believe was when it was launched. And so that is the online platform that you guys provide, which is free to the industry and are continuing to develop. And I know there's more things in the works to be released there. So you tell us a little bit about what that is, how it's been going for the first year, and what is coming down the pipes or what people can look forward to.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. So Industry Solutions, or as we've been terming it, is an online on-demand learning platform, or a LMS if you're an insider learning management system. So I'm sure you've seen these if you've done any sort of online training. You create an account, you log in, there's videos that you watch. The videos are embedded with quiz questions for comprehension. And then at the end of the course, there's an exam to test your knowledge, and then you earn a credential if you pass that exam. So what's available now on is, and was launched last year at our convention, right about a year ago, is the Principles of Woodworking. So it's a course that consists of over 60 videos. Each of the videos are around 3 to 5 minutes. So they're super palatable, easy to get through. And again, those videos have little questions like tucked in while you're watching to make sure you're paying attention and following the material. And it takes about 8 to 10 hours to get through the course, the Principles of Woodworking course. And then the final exam, you have to earn 85% or higher on your score, and then you'll earn your credential verifying that you completed the Principles of Woodworking course. So it's been going really well. In the past year, we have over 1,000 users that have logged in and engaged with the system. And we have a little over 200 folks who have completed the whole course and earned that credential by passing the exam. So we're super excited about it. People are definitely interested and engaged with it. We're seeing, if you want to get into who's using it and how and all that stuff, we could talk about that.
Yeah, and it is, so that's something that is free to the industry, not just WI members, and is also, I believe, offered in both English and in Spanish too, right?
Yes, absolutely. So yes, the whole course is entirely in Spanish as well. And doesn't just mean that the captions or the transcription on the bottom is, and there's actually Spanish speaking talent on the videos that goes through it. And all the graphics on the videos are in Spanish. So yeah, we're very proud of that. And yeah, it's entirely free. Principles of Woodworking. All you do is set up a free online account. Anybody can access it and get going on their journey.
Yes. So I think that's an extremely valuable and amazing resource you've made available to the industry that not enough people, I think, know about. But this is something that, if you have somebody entry level coming into your shop trying to learn to work in the shop floor, they could take it. Even office personnel that you want to have more familiar with the work you guys do in woodworking to be able to fulfill their responsibilities. It's totally free online, something that can be done from anywhere on their computer in both English and Spanish. I think that's amazing. And I believe the first of its kind in the whole industry that I'm aware of.
Yeah. And yes, we are seeing companies use it exactly like you said. They're using it as part of their onboarding. We're seeing the emails. It's really cool because the employer will reach out to us and say, hey, help me set up this person's contact. This is their first day. So that's super exciting for us. And yeah, as they're preparing their internal onboarding process, they put them in front of a computer and say, hey, start with this, start learning. So yeah, that was the original intent and purpose when our board made the decision to invest in this program and get this going, was to be a resource for our member companies and for the industry. We quickly found out that it's also super beneficial and valuable for high schools. And so right out of the gate, a lot of high school teachers, when they found out about it, they were like, I want in. How do I do this with my students? So that's been really cool to see that demographic engage with it and just that whole portion grow. So teachers are using it in their classrooms as a group learning tool. Like they'll show the videos on the big screen for everybody, or they'll as independent study kind of thing and have students go and do it on their own and earn their exams. We're really excited about that.
Awesome. And that's a great segue into kind of the next topic, because historically speaking, and a lot of what you just shared about the in-person events, the education outreach have been all resources really for the existing industry, people already and members of AWI. But there's a significant portion of AWI efforts and what you focus on that's focusing on the next generation and getting young people in our industry. And so you mentioned the high school teachers and secondary teachers reaching out to you about AWI is. And earlier on, I think you mentioned that you guys have already worked on a specific curriculum for high schools. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That's a really cool project that happened very quickly. I really credit our CEO, Doug Haig, for spearheading the curriculum project, because I think it really was a perfect marriage of he knew the right people and just we were driven to make it happen. So that also was a board discussion. And that's also an example of our beautiful culture at AWI and how the process works with our board and how we hear what's important to them. And they are representatives of our member companies. And so when they have a vision or a direction for us, we make it happen. And I'm really proud of that. And so last year, literally, it was just a year ago, they decided, okay, we need to develop a high school curriculum. And we jumped on it. And that was a partnership with the Kansas State Career Tech Ed Department through Pittsburgh State. They have the resources and the knowledge. Obviously, as industry folks, we don't know how to build a curriculum. That's pretty complicated. But they walked us through that process. We had a committee of teachers that shared their resources, lesson plans, exams, projects, all the things that are needed to build that curriculum. So they kindly shared all of that. And then it was overseen by Saul Martin, our education technical manager. And so he made sure it was aligned with industry needs and AWI standards and all those important things. So year one was released last year. So that curriculum, that's intended for first year woodworking students in the high school setting. It's entirely free, again, which we're very proud of. So any teacher or educator can log on to the KCCTE website, and I'm sure we could share this in the show notes, and they can access all of the resources for the curriculum. It's a la carte. If they're just looking for lesson plans or just project plans or exams or safety materials or that sort of thing, they can grab what they want, or they can get the whole package. Teachers have been downloading and using the materials there. And years 2 and 3, so that's obviously more advanced cabinet making content and things like advanced materials and machinery and that sort of thing. So those would be for the sophomore, junior year level students. Those were just completed. So they should be available on the website in the coming months. I'm personally just shocked and so pleasantly surprised by the speed of that project. It's rare to see something like that come together so quickly. But yep, it's a wonderful project.
Amazing. I just want to make a note. You mentioned this is a lot due to credit to Doug, the CEO of AWI, which he has an extensive education background himself. And I've had him on the podcast twice. So we'll link that as well in the show notes, because the first one he talks about his background and his story. And the second one, I think he talks about the launch of is actually a year ago. Mm-hmm. So those are great listens for anybody who wants to find out more about is specifically. But talking about the initiative and the push, AWI has been instrumental in, I think, accessing and really bringing the next generation, specifically from high school and post-secondary, into our industry. Can you talk about just this obstacle of attracting young professionals, specifically to millworking and woodworking? There is a skills gap, I think, for the trades in general that we've been seeing here in the U.S. And definitely, I think, has been over the many years, we've been seeing it more and more as the last generation is retiring out and they're not being replenished at the same rate they're leaving. So this is continuing to be a larger and larger pain point. And you guys, AWI has been doing amazing work with education resources and also partnering with Skills USA. But can you just talk about that as far as an obstacle, how that pain point is affecting millwork shops in our industry today?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's so many things you said that were like nestled in. But to answer your question, obstacles, yes, there certainly are some. I've seen a lot of change growth in the 18 years now that I've been around it. The core, I would say, fundamental issues that we face and need to overcome is still awareness. People don't know about our industry. They don't understand that there are valuable careers in our industry. And then the next level is how to access, how to find the training and how to find the career pathways to get into the industry. So we're still very much hidden. People just don't understand that our little but powerful segment exists and why it's a desirable path and how they can get into it.
And one of those ways that you guys have been instrumental for years now is partnering with Skills USA. There's multiple organizations across the US that work to kind of make that demographic aware of our industry, but Skills USA is definitely one of them. Can you talk a little bit about Skills USA, what it is, how it works, and how AWI has been partnering with Skills?
Yeah. So Skills USA is a career technical student organization, or CTSO is the acronym. And I promise I won't get into, there's industry language, there's education language, it gets all crazy. But yeah, there's several different CTSOs. So if you think back however long ago to your high school career and on your campus, you might have had FFA, which is Future Farmers of America. And then there's Skills USA, there's DECA, there's HOSA for health careers. So these are all clubs or organizations that students join, typically in high school, but a lot of times there's chapters in post-secondary colleges as well. And Skills USA in particular, each school has a chapter if they so choose, and the students join as members. And most people know Skills USA. It used to be called VICA back in the day, depending on when you were in high school. But most people know Skills USA for the contest aspect. So Jacob, you got to join us in Atlanta this past June and see the live action going on. And I strongly encourage, if you're serious about learning about Skills USA, please come to Nationals. It's always in June. This upcoming year, it'll be the first week in June in Atlanta. You can learn more at skillsusa.org. But there you're going to see over 100 different skill and leadership contests taking place. And those are high school and college and a little bit of middle school students competing at a national level in the skill area or leadership area of their focus in their school career. So it's really cool. Obviously, we're focused on the cabinet making contest that takes place there. But before we get into that, I just want to emphasize the leadership aspect, because Skills USA is much more than just the contests. The contests are the sexy, exciting part that draws students in. And certainly I would say the easiest probably way for us as industry to get involved and connect with Skills USA, because we support those contests. But when a student is a member of a Skills USA chapter at their school, they're also learning, they have a whole curriculum of their own, that there's this framework that they learn about, and it talks about leadership skills, workplace employability skills, all those things that you guys as employers say are most important. I hear it over and over again. You say, I can teach them the technical skills at work, but I need them to show up on time. I need them to know how to be a good team member and a good employee and all of those things. So that is the important stuff that Skills USA is also imparting to these students, and it's part of their journey as Skills USA members. So I always try to take the opportunity to mention that, because a lot of people don't realize that's happening in the background when all we see is the contest aspect.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I got to go visit the National for the first time in June, and I've been in this industry for over 15 years. And this is the first time I realized that it exists at that scale. And obviously, yes, it is much bigger than cabinet making and woodworking. There was houses being framed, there was welding, there was everything from healthcare to technology to all this type of stuff. It was covering the full spectrum of Georgia World Congress, which if you've been to IWF, that's massive. And it was all high school and post-secondary trades. And there was also industry there, huge other industries there supporting their trades. There was the military, there was police, there was large car manufacturers and things like that. From what I took away from that was, one, there is demand, there is talent being created, and there are young people interested in the trades, and there are young people learning things, valuable skills that are specific to our trade. And there is a void there, a vacuum to be filled, which is with employers. That's what is needed. From what I took away was all of this. When you see like Amazon, or you see the US Army, or you see any of these Ford or Chevy or any of these huge industries, or Boeing, they're spending a great amount of time and resources, and that demand, it has to be met with something, which is, okay, we have this huge need for talent. The schools and the education system are going to rush to fill because they're trying to educate their people to go get jobs. And they're going to educate people for the jobs that are demanding talent. And so all of that to say that the biggest need that, from my perspective, that I see for our industry to fill this is employers, the companies out there, the people out there that need this. You have to put time and effort and resources into this. And there's work already being done. There's frameworks. There's a lot of foundation already being built by Skills USA, by AWI, by these high school tech programs, and even schools like Pitt State that are just begging to be capitalized on, and begging for employers to say, hey, we'll take your students, we'll give them internships, we'll give them jobs, and we'll show that there is demand for this, so that when you guys do the work of educating them, and the more of those students that get hired and get gainful employment, the more other students are going to see that and say, oh, there is a path, there's somewhere to go from this, I will follow suit as well. So I started to jump on the soapbox. That's what I'm hoping, what I want to get to here is, how can those that are listening to this, how can they get involved? And what you've just spent the last 30 minutes is telling me all the different ways that AWI is putting efforts and resources into ways that ultimately is waiting for industry members to dive in and say, hey, we want to help with this. And because we see the need and we want to benefit from all this work being done.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Again, so many great things in what you just said. I could go in a million different directions. I'll try to focus. But yeah, I think Skills USA is a good example of what you're saying. It truly needs to be a partnership, and it has to be at the company level, and it has to be with your local school. Anything education related. AWI is a national organization, but we can't do anything without our members all across the country, all across the world in our case. When it comes to education, setting aside, not getting political about the state of education in the US right now and the Department of Ed at the federal level, but really change happens with education at the local level with the school. That's where you're going to have the most impact. I know it sounds crazy and backwards because a lot of times people think you got to do it nationally to have the biggest impact. In some cases, like, yes, that's true. But if it's, especially if you're looking to grow your workforce in your local area for your economy, for your community, for your company, it has to be at that local level. So Skills USA is a great partner in that, but also an example of how that looks and works. I mentioned the chapter, your Skills USA chapter at your local school, and then I talked about national, but I skipped the state part. The structure of Skills USA is there's this national organization that oversees everything and runs the national champions event that takes place in Atlanta in June. But prior to that, each student qualifies at their state conference. And that's really where our industry could get much more involved. And that's where we need those employers. So we have a super tight team at nationals that runs that cabinet making contest. I have to recognize and give props to Kent Gilchrist and Christine Cox and John Volpe. They lead that technical committee that does everything at the national level. If you're interested in getting involved, it's a pretty serious task, but feel free to reach out to me and let's talk about it. But at the state level, we want those states. That's where the students, they compete at their local level, they get to state, and then it's just like the Olympics or anything else. Then they qualify and they get to nationals, and then they're representing their state at that point. But we want more employers involved at the state level that are running those contests. And when I say running, it's everything from the beginning to end. Developing the contest plans, identifying, procuring the material and the supplies and the equipment that's needed to create the contest, finding the volunteers, the judges, the setup and tear down people that are needed, finding the space. In some cases, can it happen at your shop, or is it happening at a school site or whatever? So there's so many aspects just to every state's cabinet making contest taking place. In the past year, we developed a directory. We're trying to find those state cabinet making contest coordinators. Sometimes they're called technical committee chairs. That's the technical terminology. But we're building that list, and we have about a third of the states. We know the right contacts. If we don't, there's also the state director. So each state has its own director. They oversee all the contests. So sometimes it's hard to get the right information or find the right people reaching out to them. But that's another thing. Feel free that you can reach out to me, and we're trying to build that network because we want all the states to help the students prepare for the national competition, to align their contests more with industry standards. There's a couple different purposes and values of being involved in Skills USA for the student. We want their experience to be top notch, essentially. And so we're trying to build out the resources so that can happen at the state level. So I mentioned before, going to Skills USA National Conference and experiencing it firsthand like Jacob did. It's phenomenal, but also attending your state event. Even if you're not sure or you don't know about the cabinet making contest, just seeing the breadth of all the different contests that are happening, seeing the energy, seeing the professionalism of your state Skills USA organization and how the students engage with it, and the educators, their teachers. So it's very valuable. And I would say that's your first step in just understanding, okay, this is the kind of microcosm, and then you can figure out how you would fit into that and how you could help out. But when you talk about the educators being more involved, Skills serves as a good example like that. But even outside of Skills, let's say you don't have any schools near you that have a Skills USA chapter. And that's a whole process to get into. But it's the same thing. It's that same formula of finding a school that has cabinet making or woodworking or something similar, and just getting to know them, learning about them. Sometimes employers just want to dive in and they don't fully understand the school's culture or the resources that they have and their focus and all those things. And so it's just like building any other relationship. You need to learn, listen, and observe. And then through that process, you will find out the best way for you to be involved and engage with that school and how it can be beneficial for both of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of this is, believe it or not, still very much grassroots in many ways. Like I know of many states at the state level, there's industry members that are very involved in California and Texas and North Carolina. I know of people involved in the state contest, and it's very much of, okay, we need to design a new project for this year that they're going to build in cabinet making. And you have to actually make the drawings, the shop drawings. You have to get sources for all the materials, which are industry partners as well, of literally sheets of plywood and edge banding and hinges and slides. And then people have to volunteer and the tools and resources. And ultimately, if you have, like you said, if there's a school that you have in your neighborhood, your region that isn't a partner, AWI has curriculum that is free to use, available, as well as people like yourself and Saul that I'm sure would be happy to jump on a call and talk about, hey, this is how we work with other schools, and here's some connections we can connect you with that have done this before that you can use as a resource. Because all of those schools exist for, if you go talk to the heads of the departments or the instructors, they are dying for an industry company like you to walk in and say, how can we help? How can we help your students? And how can we influence what they're learning so that they can be gainfully employed? And we want them to come and work for us. And so if there's people that are interested in this trade and we can help them learn the skills that we need, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yes, absolutely. Aside from that Skills USA model, like that, it's a continuum. I would say there's several common approaches or ways that industry can engage with career tech ed programs. If you're not familiar with CTE, in this context, it refers to career and technical education. And those are the sorts of programs that generally are, well, by their definition, they are supposed to be aligned with industry needs and standards. A career tech ed program is going to be more likely to want to and need to, by their definition, engage with local industry partners like you. And so that engagement happens through events like plant tours. So if you are able to open your facility to bring students in to see what is happening in your company, how it happens, that's incredibly effective, very valuable experience for those students. In recent years, that's happened through Manufacturing Day, which is a national initiative. So whether you do it as a Manufacturing Day event or just an independent plant tour, Manufacturing Day as an organization, they did surveys with Deloitte, and they found that something like 67 to 70% of students who attended a plant tour were more likely to consider, like seriously consider a career in that industry after the plant tour than they were before. So as far as that awareness piece and understanding our industry and what the career paths are available, very, very effective. In addition to that, participating in advisory committees. So like Jacob mentioned, like having those conversations about what does your school need and how can I help you as an industry partner align with our industry needs and ensure that these students are learning what they really need to be successful in the workplace when they graduate. That happens at the advisory committee level. Those are normally meetings that take place 2 to 3 times a year at the school. And that's where you get to talk with the instructor and the department chair and those people at the school who are determining how the students learn. And then just being a guest speaker in the classroom, things like that. There's different ways. And it is a continuum in that there's those dating level aspects where it's a kind of a light commitment for you. You could do it pretty easily. And then there's way more intensive activities, like you could develop an internship program. We can even get into apprenticeships, which is really intense. So that's kind of going steady, engaged, married with the school. But there's all sorts. Don't think that you need to do all of these things at once. Again, just go and find your school program and just start asking questions, start observing, start learning. And through that process, you'll find out what they're capable of and what's a good match for you guys.
Awesome. For those that are listening, if you've been listening to this and you're amped up and you're motivated and you're like, okay, I want to get involved, what is the best way for them to get started? How can they reach out or just look into who do I reach out to? Who do I contact? How can I just find out more and start the process? Who do I contact? How can I just find out more and start the process?
Oh gosh. Well, I freely share my email. It kind of like you mentioned, it is a grassroots effort. So my first questions will be, where are you? You know, what city are you near? I can help you find school programs. I don't want to say Google, but sometimes that is where we start for sure. But a lot of times, even if you find a program, then finding the right person at that program who understands and wants to connect with you, is a whole thing. I mentioned that Skills USA directory, which I'm happy to share the link to. That's for the contest coordinators. On skillsusa.org, you can find the state directors very easily. But again, we're trying to find the people who are actually developing and running the cabinet making contest at each state. So if you're listening to this and you don't know about our list, you're not on it yet, then please reach out to me. We'd love to add you. You also talked about the project plans for Skills USA. We have a library of plans from each state, like you mentioned, North Carolina and Indiana with Kent and California with us and stuff. So we're putting all those plans together, especially to help those states who don't have contests going yet or just really need a little bit more refinement or support with their contests. So those are all freely available and we're just sharing with each other so we can all elevate things together. So yeah, reach out to me. I would say, I know it's not a tidy answer, but I can help direct you depending on what resources you have available and where you are. And the conversation evolves like that, I would say.
Awesome. So we'll link your contact information in the show notes, and that's definitely a great way to start. That's how we've gotten connected through you. We've worked with the California State on their drawings each year, which has been a really exciting way to get involved. And if you're involved in any of the other state contests or looking at getting one started up and you need help with drawings for any of these things, definitely reach out to Adria or myself. We'd love to help you out with those things. I think this is, more than anything, it becomes obviously a valuable initiative, but it's also a very rewarding initiative to get involved and really just start networking. And once, like you said, you break that ice of reaching out, you start to meet a lot of really great people that are like-minded and trying to do the same thing, which is help move our industry forward as a whole.
Yes. And I do want to thank Duckworks and you, Jacob, for helping with California. That was super exciting to have you guys come on board and help with that process. I think it's been a fun experience for your company and I can't remember your employee's name who's been helping, but she's amazing. If you're a CAD guru and stuff, then that might be an easy thing. But for us in California, we were struggling. That's a really time-intensive project because these are professional level project plans that we're sharing with the students. There's so many examples and ways in which the Skills USA experience helps the students get introduced to our industry and professional cabinet making. It's not just we're giving them plans for a birdhouse and this sort of thing. These are like high-level professional cabinets, and that's reflected in the plans. And so these plans are like several pages long. They have the bill of materials, which the students have to complete. and all this. So having Ductworks as a partner has been really fantastic in helping with that process.
And if you're saying, hey, I'd love to get involved, but I just don't have the time or the capacity, there's so many ways that could be helpful. If you have attic stock of old hinges or sheet goods or things that could be used in the projects to, hey, if you're buying new table saws and recycling the old ones, there are so many programs that could use tools and resources. Or it might even just be, hey, you being the resource that makes the connection between two parties that can help. Adria, thank you so much for coming on and telling us about all the different ways that AWI is investing in education, all the great work you're doing, and ways that people can get involved. We will link in the show notes everything you shared, all these resources for anybody that's listening. So go to the show notes if you're looking for a link for anything that Adria referenced in this episode. If you're going to be at AWI National, look forward to seeing you there. And I know that Adria will be there ready to connect and answer any questions for anybody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Jacob. It was really fun.
Thank you, Adria.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Do you want to stay up to date about industry insights, new content, and our community of millworkers? Go to ductworksmw.com to sign up for our newsletter. I'll see you in the next episode of Verify Infield.